All right, yesterday marked the one-year anniversary of President Biden being sworn into office, and even the liberal news media can't help but harp on how the Biden administration has failed on Afghanistan, COVID, the economy, inflation, and so many other things. But President Biden says no president has done as much as he has in 1 year.
Can you think of any other president that's done as much in 1 year? Name one for me.
I'm asking you.
I'm serious. You guys talk about how nothing's happened. I don't think there's been much on any incoming president's plate that's been a bigger menu than the plate I had given to me.
Well, when it comes to the president's pro-abortion policies, I would agree with his statement. No one has done more than him. Not even Barack Obama, who we thought was the pro-abortion president. This administration has done more to advance an anti-life, anti-family agenda than any other president in history. Here to give us his side-by-side comparison of the Biden administration versus the Trump administration, the records on the issues of abortion and other issues, is FRC's Connor Semelsberger. He is the Director of Federal Affairs for Life and Human Dignity. Connor, welcome back to the program.
Yes, it's great to be on and great to be warm today.
Yeah, it is. Nice and warm here in the studio. So is that an overstatement that no president has done more to advance abortion than this one?
No, not at all. And, we hear so much hyperbole these days. This is not hyperbole. You look at, like you mentioned, the Obama administration, who we thought of as the pro-abortion president. I have to be here today as the sad news that the Biden administration has done more just in his first year than it took Obama what seemed like his entire 2 terms to accomplish. This administration has worked like clockwork and with precision to advance this pro-abortion agenda, unlike any we've seen before.
Why is that?
It's clear through the ideology that this one-time senator from Delaware who supported things like the Hyde Amendment, even the partial birth abortion ban in Congress, to get this presidency had to say yes to that radical abortion agenda pushed by Planned Parenthood and others members of Congress to dismantle human life in the womb. And so this has just been, again, not necessarily what was portrayed on the campaign, but when he got here and it was time to do business, it was all for the abortion industry.
So it's interesting. This is not who he was in all those years as he was a senator from Delaware, as you pointed out. But in order to cobble together this coalition, in order to win the presidency, he had to barter away certain things like the Hyde Amendment, where he changed his position on that, partial birth abortion. And we're going to get into the actual policies that they've been pushing in this administration. But this really comes down to personnel and the people that he has put in place. And it goes back to that old adage that personnel is policy.
Yeah, we've tracked almost all the nominees that Biden has appointed and then the Senate has confirmed. And you look back at some of those pretty bad nominees through the Obama years, Sebelius running the Health and Human Services Department. But when you look at this administration, it's not just those running health and human services, those agencies that have a say over abortion. It's from top to bottom. It's the top secretaries all the way down to those political appointees that have say over the research and analysis coming out of the government. And it's in positions like the transportation secretary or the energy secretary. You look at those records and they are pro-abortion through and through. It is hard to find a single political appointee serving in the Biden administration that supports any restriction on abortion.
Now, but that's almost the default position of anyone in the Democratic Party. I mean, the Democratic Party in their platform lays out these very positions that Joe Biden has now embraced.
That's right. And you see some of these folks that maybe at one time, like Biden himself, have supported pro-life policies to get in this administration to be what the Democratic Party is today. They've had to relinquish any of those even personal pro-life convictions and just have been pro-abortion, like I said, through and through. And even when it comes down to small things, it's not just, here's direct funding to Planned Parenthood or here's how we're going to advocate for abortion through Congress. It's little decisions when it comes to, where COVID money goes and things like that, where this abortion ideology has been seen.
Well, we saw it in the funding bills, the quote-unquote COVID relief, and where that money is going, the funding. It's been we talked about the Obama administration where there was a funding stream, but this is multiplying.
Yeah, and even with Obama, he at least gave the placate that he was seemingly not necessarily pro-life, but was moderate on the position, wanting to get some sort of pro-life fix for Obamacare. But with this administration, there hasn't even been that, guys. In his first budget that he ever proposed, he called directly for the removal of the Hyde Amendment. And we haven't seen that since the Clinton years. So even Obama didn't do that. He had to one-up his own president he served with. But yeah, it's been a clear and from day one.
Okay, Connor, let's get into some specifics because you said, this is not hyperbole. This is, in fact, there is a record, and I think that's important. We hear speeches, we hear rhetoric, but a lot of these policies are done through executive action. They're a part of the administrative state, which don't get a lot of headlines. It doesn't involve necessarily Congress all the time, although the purse strings are one way for Congress, and that's where I think if you have a Republican pro-life majority in the next Congress, they can really restrict what this president's able to do. But give us some examples of what we've got going on.
Yeah, so he came in that first week when COVID was at its peak. He was rallying off of his unifying, acceptance speech. And what is one of his first actions? He repeals what we know as the Mexico City policy, what the Trump administration expanded to ensure none of our taxpayer dollars go to those big abortion conglomerates overseas. That was day one.
And the one thing about the Trump administration, Secretary Pompeo expanding it beyond anything it had been before, so that even subcontractors to those foreign entities could not counsel for or provide abortion. So it was a pretty muscular Mexico City policy that was in place.
It was, and throughout the Trump administration, it wasn't just, okay, we're going to take this action. This is sort of customary for pro-life administrations to do. All throughout, they saw where those gaps were and pivoted. They said, let's plug this hole. Let's cut them off here. And so when Biden did take action to repeal that, it was much more of a drastic change than had been back in those the 2000s.
It's like light and day,
Yes.
night and day. I mean, it was such a sharp contrast between the two administrations because there was never a Republican administration that was as pro-life as the Trump administration.
So when those switches flip from administration to administration, because the Trump administration set that new high bar for pro-life, there are much more drastic changes when a pro-abortion administration comes in. It's seemingly going to continue that way.
So that's on the foreign policy front. What other actions have we seen from this administration?
Yeah, so in his campaign promises, he said he's going to take taxpayer funds and get them to his big buddy, Planned Parenthood, who at the same time was endorsing him for president. And boy, did he deliver. In less than 6 months, he already moved to rewrite the Title X regulations. It's a large family planning grant program that thankfully, again, under the Trump administration, had said, you know what, no abortion providers can continue to do abortions in these same facilities as well as get these family planning grants. So Trump cut that off within 6 months. And this isn't just an executive order. This is a federal regulation that takes rulemaking process, stakeholder feedback. They moved at lightning speed within 30 days or 3 months to have a proposed rule. And by September of his first year, has been sending those millions of dollars right back into the hands of Planned Parenthood, like clockwork.
Well, we see, Planned Parenthood has been culturally on the retreat. They're closing their clinics, but they've been shifting, and this began back under the Obama administration. We spoke about this earlier with Congresswoman Hartzler, that, they shifted to basically abortion in the mail. And this administration is helping to further that even more so.
Yeah, so while we're gaining so much momentum on our side in the courts, in the states, this is where the abortion industry is taking its stand. It's working through the Biden administration, multiple levels. So the funding gets back to Planned Parenthood. And then at the same time, what's been in the works is our FDA, who governs how chemical abortion, those pills are regulated and the health and safety protocols around them are governed. Just last month, December, they moved to, again, permanently allow no physician oversight, no in-person meeting between a woman and a doctor to get these pills, and that they can be shipped through the mail. So now Planned Parenthood's getting more money from us and now can even more send these pills out.
Well, and that began with Mr. Califf,
Yes.
who was in the Obama administration and now has been nominated by the Biden administration to be the head of FDA. So we know where he's coming from on this, lessening the not just restriction, but the safety protocols that surround these very dangerous drugs.
Yeah, so you can see that playbook continuing out. So those that were buddy for the industry under Obama, they're back in the Biden administration, and to continue to push it. Califf is the nominee currently pending before the Senate, who has a clear record saying yes to the abortion industry and no to following the facts and the science about how dangerous these pills have become for women who take them.
Now, what about the states that have, put in place pro-life restrictions, regulations? They've been reaching into the states as well.
Mm-hmm. And we saw this under the Obama administration as well, but it took years. It wasn't until his second term where he really started to get aggressive to go after states who wanted to defund Planned Parenthood. That was the issue of the day. Now with the Texas Heartbeat Act, day one, multiple speeches, the press secretary, the vice president coming out, but it wasn't just rhetoric like we talked about. They've now taken direct action in the state of Texas to continue to send federal dollars to the Planned Parenthoods there, even bordering on the line of promoting abortion with these tax dollars. We know because of the Hyde Amendment they can't go to pay for abortion, but basically they're saying as much. Go to these clinics where we're sending our federal dollars so you can get your family planning care. But really what that means is they want to help them get abortions, and they're using their federal dollars. And even how they tie the strings to a state like Texas, who, again, like many states, work with the federal government on things like Medicaid and things like that. They're going to do everything they can to go after states that pass pro-life laws.
Not to mention that they actually have taken them to court.
Yes.
They've sued the state of Texas. And so you've got the entire federal government, the weight of the Department of Justice, leaning down on the state of Texas.
Right, and again, that's so black and white with where the Trump administration was. Their Department of Justice was defending pro-life states and states that defend religious freedom, and now you have the Biden administration doing the exact opposite. They are on the side of the abortion industry, standing there in front of our Supreme Court.
Yeah, I remember the day that they sued Texas in court over. Filed suit against Texas over their pro-life laws the same day that President Biden announced a mandate of the vaccine. The irony there that they want to, protect health, but yet they are going after a state that wanted to protect human life.
Yeah, the hypocrisy it's not even something that we have to conjecture or make up. It's clear as day.
What are some of the other big ticket items that we've seen out of this administration as it pertains to the life issue?
Yeah, so we've talked about the funding overseas. We've talked about them going after the states. And then there's the legislative agenda as well. So, how this administration works hand in hand with the Congress he has. And what have they passed as a signature bill that they want to push? The so-called Women's Health Protection Act, which we've deemed the Abortion on Demand through Birth Act, and that's really what it is. This year, our Congress, our U.S. House, has passed the most radical abortion bill we have ever seen pass through Congress, and only a single Democrat was courageous enough to vote no. And the Biden administration has been pushing this and supporting this bill from day one.
Yeah, juxtapose that to the Republicans, where every Republican member has signed the Born Alive Infant Protection Act, where if a child survives an abortion, they are to be given medical attention. That's been blocked by Nancy Pelosi even having a vote on the House floor for that bill.
Yeah, that's so right. The Republican conference, we just want to get bipartisan support to protect babies after they're born. And when Democrats say no to that, what is their response? Nothing moderate, no, let's work on Hyde Amendment or partial birth abortion ban. Their response is, let's allow abortion through all 9 months. And when they don't sign up for something like the Born Alive bill, they're even saying that they would be okay with allowing these infants to not receive care after they're born.
It's amazing. Of course, very interesting to see what's happened in the state of Virginia, where the former governor, Ralph Northam, was the one who, a physician, who said, we just want to keep a child, who survives abortion comfortable until we, decide whether or not they live. Now we have a governor, just took office last Saturday, 1 week ago, who is already, and that's Governor Glenn Youngkin, who has created a new position, ambassador for the unborn. I mean, what a contrast. And quite frankly, that's where the two parties are today. There's never been a time in my life, and I don't think in the life of either of the two parties, where there's been such a clear contrast on these defining issues.
Yeah, and what is time for, as we hear those comments from Northam, right? And look how that impacted that state race in Virginia, and now to have an ambassador for life. I think that just shows how the Republicans, those that are pro-life, whether it's at the state level, a governorship, or here in our Congress, how they need to not be afraid of the positions that they've held, to be bold, right? Because we know the truth is that those cells inside the womb are not just cells, they're human life, and that we need to boldly stand for the truth on this life issue when compared to such a stark contrast, a party that really does promote death. That's really what they're calling for. We have to boldly stand up for life and push those policies.
By the way, for those that might have seen me thumbing through this publication, we actually have a publication at the website, tonyperkins.com, tracking the Biden administration on life, family, and religious freedom. So it covers not only the life issue, but all of the issues set that FRC works with. Again, date, time, issue, all documented, so you know exactly what this administration is doing. Connor Semelsberger, thanks so much for joining us. Great work, as always.
Yes, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And folks, I encourage you, download this. Go to tonyperkins.com. Thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, let me leave you once again with the encouraging words of the Apostle Paul, found in Ephesians 6, where he says, when you've done everything you can do, when you've prayed, when you've prepared, and when you've taken your stand, by all means, keep standing.